Okay, so for part 3 of this mini-series, talking about the pre-approval and why it's important, how about you kick it off and talk a little bit about what a pre-approval is and how we come up with those numbers, and then we can talk about how we work together when we're making an offer.
Sure. Pre-approval means I've gotten their application, I pulled credit, and I've gotten the loan documentation to ensure that the buyer is going to qualify for the loan and the price of the home that I've said they're going to qualify for. So it means we've done all of our due diligence up front. So we go through that process. I tell you, I tell the borrower, we start looking at the numbers. Here's what your payment's looking like. Here's what your cash to close is looking like. Do we need any seller concessions? We relay that to you, and then you get to start with that house hunting.
Right. And what I've come to realize working in real estate is that the pre-approval is super important, because on our contract, when we go, which we use those words intermixedly, so contract, offer, they're the same thing. When we're submitting an offer to the seller's side, there is a box on there that you check that has applied or has not applied for a loan. And if you don't check the box pre-approved, especially in a market where, or especially just with a home that's like super amazing and a bunch of people are going after, if you don't get to check that box that you have a pre-approval, then nobody's going to take you seriously and they're not going to accept that offer. The other thing that I've experienced is that pre-approvals from different lenders really matter, because
100%.
we all work in this market in the Treasure Valley, Boise, Meridian, Nampa, Eagle, and there is a reputation that comes along with who you work with. And I know that when I'm submitting an offer with Synergy and with Tia, people know that that loan is going to close. So talk a little bit about that. Do you hear that frequently? And I mean, because then I've had another loan that's like, you know, one of the big banks that you don't have somebody local you're dealing with.
Yes, because the level of due diligence is going to change depending on who your lender is. So what's very popular right now is online pre-approvals. So you apply online, you submit a couple of documents, and voila, you're pre-approved. They send you a piece of paper that says you're pre-approved. But they may not go through all of the extra steps and the due diligence up front that we go through, and they will do that instead when you're under contract, and that's where the problems arise. So we fully underwrite all of our borrowers up front. So it's gone through our automated underwriting, it's gone through the full underwriting process where an actual underwriter is looking at it and they say, I approve of this.
Right. What I'm hearing there too is, and I just got that feeling in my stomach where I have had somebody that's really excited about a house, and then they find out that they in no way would be able to purchase that house right now, and that can set you up for like a big smack in the face. So it's just nice to like know from the beginning that this is your max, and then you can, you know, go down or go up to that point. So
yes, and the other thing is when you're going through that initial pre-approval, it's all estimates. We don't know the house, we don't know the taxes, if there's any HOA dues. Is it a condo that's got a lot of HOA dues, or is it on land? And all of those things can make a big difference in the house. So once our clients are under contract, when they're ready to write an offer, you communicate the property back to me. I can run all of the exact numbers. We know what we need in seller concessions. We know if there's any HOA dues that might impact the qualifying. We know all of those things up front before the offer goes out.
And I feel like, I don't know if this fits right in this part, but we've talked a lot about seller concessions right now. So seller concessions are just basically, in this market, you wouldn't have seen this in 2020 or 2021 when houses were moving so quickly, because sellers could put their house out there and say, you want this apple? Well, let's see if you can get this apple. You know, who's gonna go? Whereas now, you know, in a market, buyers are getting a much better opportunity to A, get in, and B, be able to negotiate. That was kind of a gone in 2020, 2021. So seller concessions are basically just a credit from the seller that can help with your rate buy down, can help with closing costs, really price reduction at the closing table. So again, talking about seller concessions right now is probably something you didn't talk a lot about in 2020, but something that is a huge advantage to first-time home buyers right now to jump in this market.
And just to piggyback off that, the seller concessions now that a lot of buyers are getting, a few years ago when that wasn't an opportunity, if they're using any kind of like down payment assistance programs, they're just taking those closing costs and rolling them into the financing. So they're paying for them one way or another back then, even with the lower rates, but today they're truly getting the sellers to pay for them.
Right, and I've had people at the table this year actually walking out of closing with money. So kind of going back to that, how much money you have to bring down because of, the down payment assistance program, because of seller concessions. There are literally buyers walking out of the closing room with $1,800, with $4,000. And while we are hearing that rates are high, those opportunities do not exist in a market that rates are really low.
Sure. So I think what's most important is having someone local on your side. Just like you would choose a local lender that knows the area, you would choose a local mortgage lender that also is familiar with the area, and having two people that are going to work really well together, that can run those numbers for you up front. The most important thing to the buyers are, what's their monthly payment, what do they have to bring to closing? And so going into the offer, knowing those exact things, or knowing the numbers that are really, really, really close, is super important.
Right. I know I've been Friday night at like 10:30 going, Tia, I'm about to submit this offer. What should what do you need here? Can we do this? Can you tailor a pre-approval? So I really appreciate being able to closely work with you so that we can, be competitive in this market.
Mm-hmm. Something I know that's not super common in my office, but I know it has happened in the industry, is going under contract and then the contract falls apart due to buyer's financing. Right. So
you've had to save a few.
Yes. The online lenders, truthfully, just once you're under contract, I don't think they really care if you close or not. They're not here. Right. They're giving out these pre-approval certificates from information you put in online. They're not doing their due diligence up front. So once you get under contract, I don't think they really care. When you choose a local realtor and a local mortgage lender, this is our community, so we do care. So if I say you're pre-approved and you're ready to go, I will see you at closing. We're gonna see it through and we're gonna make sure you get there. We're not giving out fake pre-approvals. They are solid and we're gonna close the deal.
Right, and I love that because my people get the warm and fuzzies at the beginning and are excited to start the process because they worked with you and worked with me. And then at the closing table, we all get to sit together and celebrate, and it's the dedication on both of our side to get everybody to the finish line and own a home.
Yes, it's the best feeling ever.